What's going on, guys? It is me, Tyson the Trainer, back with another video for you, back with another podcast for those of you listening. There's nothing exciting when you watch a video, to be honest. It's just me sitting here looking into the camera. That's it. It's just because it's on YouTube for an extra piece of content. But it is a podcast nonetheless. And today's podcast, I want to break down a fitness myth. And I think it's something I want to do a little bit more of to kind of, I guess, dive a little bit deeper into topics and explain to people I guess, again, certain myths that are around at the moment and that have been around for fucking years and surprisingly still are around. I'm like, when someone asks me this question, not this question, like a lot of questions, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, we have known about this for like literally years and then it still gets fucking pushed, And the reason it gets pushed is because people want to seem like they're clever, right? Or people need something, I'm saying like trainers and supplement companies, all these things, they need money, so people try and recreate the wheel or do something to also like make you think that that they have an answer that you don't have, basically. Fucking hell, like perfect example, BCAAs, right? I hope no one who listens to this is drinking BCAAs right now, because like BCAAs, we fucking, what was it, 2012, I think, 2010, maybe earlier, when we figured out BCAAs are a waste of money. It was early, It's 2022 and people are still asking, oh, what do you reckon about BCAAs? Or you still see fucking fitfluencers pushing BCAAs. It's like, cunt, you guys are fucking 12 years out of date and you still want to push BCAAs. And then it has, normal, like regular people who their job is not fitness. You guys are just here to obviously, get a little bit of education. You're seeing someone say, oh, I take BCAAs for this and this and this. And you're like, oh shit, do I need to take BCAAs? And it's like, like you're now confused because someone's telling you to take BCAAs and you're like, oh, maybe this is a supplement I need. And the people are just wanting to fucking make money out of you. And it's fucking scumbaggery at the end of the day, because like people are like, oh, well, what if they just don't know? What if they don't know is a fucking bullshit excuse. If you are someone who is in the fitness industry and you work in the fitness industry, you fucking know that BCAAs don't work. There is like, I don't understand how in 2022, with social media, right? And also, this is your career. If you're someone who is a trainer or a fucking fitfluencer and you want this to be your career, the fact that you cannot fucking do any research to have evidence supporting your claims is bullshit, And that's why I don't play nice anymore on social media. Because I'm like, how the fuck, like, you must be purposely blinding yourself and putting your hand over your eyes so you can't see. Because it's like, there's no shortage of information for coaches, especially with research showing what the current evidence is based on what works and what doesn't work. Same thing as like technique videos. This is totally off topic, but I want to say this really quickly. Coaches who do incorrect technique. Now, like, I'm not fucking saying that you have to be spot on perfect, because we're always going to be progressing our technique to be better and better, But if you look at something, let's say a deadlift, okay? I really think everyone should know that with a deadlift, you pick it up with relatively a straight back, all right? You tighten your core, you take the tension through the bar, you push through your feet as you pull up, you try and keep your spine in a neutral position. If it slightly bends, it's a little bit okay if you're trying to push heavier. I think you all get the idea, But you see coaches, when they fucking do an exercise, it's like, like, I don't even have words, because I'm like, surely they've seen somewhere on social media, or I don't know, through their fucking course, or some type of continuing education about how to do exercises correctly. Because I'm like, when you look at something, and you're like, oh yeah, like if I look at myself, I'm always trying to be better with my squats and my deadlifts. Like, you always try and refine your form, okay? But like, you're in the 90% like good form side of things, all right? If you're outside of the 90% and you're a trainer and you can't execute form correctly, there's a fucking issue. Like the amount of, like, again, like deadlifting. the amount of rounded spines I see, or like just not deadlifting correctly. And it's not like, they should be able to, they should narrow their feet. They should grab the bar like this. They need to tighten up their lats. Nothing like that type of thing, because those adjustments are what we all need to continuously be making to be better. But like just the overall fucking principle of a deadlift, or a leg press. Perfect example, leg press. Like people who leg press and it's like a quarter rep of a leg press. It's like, oh, you're a coach, but you don't know how to full range of motion leg press. Like, I don't understand that, But there's my fucking rant. Anyways, going back onto myths and bullshit and all those other things out there. Today, we're going to be talking about high days versus low days, or high carb days, low carb days, calorie cycling, all of those type of things. Because fuck me dead, it does my head in with the amount of shit I see out there with coaches talking about this, all right? So, if you are someone who is an athlete who does cardiovascular exercise, which would be a field sport, track and field basically. So running, cycling, swimming, soccer, football, any of those sports, okay? If you do any of those things that is metabolically demanding from a cardiovascular point of view, you will be someone who would benefit from a high or a low carb day, or a high calorie day, or a low calorie day, okay? Bar that, none of you will fucking notice any difference, all right? So if you're someone who trains with weights, and you're someone who maybe does cardio a few times a week, you don't fucking need a high day, low day, all right? If you're someone who trains with weights and you do your steps, you don't fucking need a high day, low day. If you're someone who's a competitive bodybuilder, you don't fucking need a high day and a low day, all right? Now, let me explain to you guys how this myth is just fucking stupid beyond belief. All right? Cool. Let's do it. Let's fucking do it. All right, so basically, to start off with, regarding this whole high day versus low day approach, the theory is you need to have more calories or carbohydrates on the days you're training versus when you're not training, okay? Sounds good in theory, Oh, I need extra food on the days I'm going to train because I'm going to need that extra bit of energy. All right, cool. That's a good thought process. When we actually look at that theory and we kind of break it down, there's a few things we kind of take into consideration that we need to understand, right? Firstly, I think I've talked to you guys about this before. If you do an hour of weight training versus an hour brisk walk, you will burn more calories on the brisk walk than you will with weight training, okay? So it's not a calorie side of things that you're burning extra calories in the gym, because consistent walking versus doing a set of 10, resting, doing a set of 12, resting, whatever it is, you're going to burn a lot more calories consistently walking, all right? Because you're moving consistently for 60 minutes versus doing a set, resting, fucking around on your phone, talking to a friend, going to the water cooler, doing all this shit. Even if it was a 90-minute workout, you're not going to burn that many calories from a workout, okay? That's the first thing. Secondly, we use carbohydrates as fuel in our workout, right? But we don't just use carbohydrates as fuel. So basically, what determines the fuel we use between carbohydrates and fats is actually our heart rate. So when I'm sitting right now talking to you, I'm using fat as a fuel source, okay? Whenever we're doing low intensity movement, walking, cleaning the house, sitting here talking to you guys, we're using fat as a fuel source. Whenever we're going to increase our intensity and it goes, our heart rate increases, for most people, it'll probably be above, I think it's 65%, is when we start to use primarily carbohydrates as a fuel source. The higher the intensity, the more we bias carbohydrates. Like if you're in a zone 5, if you're doing actual high intensity cardio, and you are pushing balls to the fucking wall with cardio, you're using 100% carbohydrates, right? There's no fat being used during that time. Like you are using all carbs, okay? But again, it comes to weight training session. You do a leg press. We're gonna go back to leg press. You do a leg press, all right? When you start to leg press, the first rep, 2 reps, 3 reps, your heart rate will start to creep up, all right? You get to that 10th, 11th, 12th rep, you're probably pushing that heart rate to about maybe 160-ish, based on obviously your fitness level, all those type of things. So you start to use carbohydrates during that weight training session as you're contracting muscle, okay? But then again, as soon as you finish that set and you rest, your heart rate goes back down and you go to burning fat. So basically in your workout session, you're burning carbs and fats. It goes up and down during your workout session, okay? Does this matter? No, it doesn't matter for you at all. I'm just explaining what actually happens. So by the end of the session, let's say you burnt 500 calories, okay? Some of it's from carbohydrates, some of it's from fat. And that's a 90-minute session, all right? So you just walked briskly for an hour and you've used fat as a fuel source that whole time because you're walking at probably about 6.5K rate. Your heart rate's probably sitting at about 120-ish, so you're using primarily fat as a fuel source. But within that hour and a half of walking, you've burnt, again, let's say 600 calories. You probably wouldn't, but let's just say 600 calories, okay? So on the days you're not training with weights, you've gone for a walk instead, all right? And you're like, oh, but I'm not burning as many calories. Well, now we know that's bullshit. All right, because you're burning the same amount of calories. So then why would you need extra food on the days you're going to train for more energy? Because you're going to use the same amount of calories regardless, right? And now we know we don't use just carbohydrates as a fuel source when we train. So if you're like, oh, I need to have those extra carbs to be able to push it. If we look at an overall workout, and again, you burned 500 calories and it was up and down between carbs and fats, okay? 1 gram of carbohydrates contains 4 calories, okay? So even if you primarily are trained in a fully high carbs, let's say high heart rate using all carbohydrates, if you burn 400 calories, that's 100 grams of carbohydrates, okay? 100 grams of carbohydrates is not that much, okay? Right? Our muscle glycogen can hold a lot more than 100 grams of carbohydrates. So we haven't depleted our muscle glycogen. And for those of you guys like, what the fuck is muscle glycogen? It's carbohydrates in our muscles, okay? So we haven't depleted all the carbohydrates in our muscles. So technically you could train and then go back the next day and train again and you wouldn't be depleted with your carbohydrates from your muscles, all right? And that's the theory. It's like, oh, well, we got to have enough carbs in your body. Well, guess what? You're going to have enough carbs in your body regardless, okay? Because the rest of the food you eat throughout the day and even on your off days, you will have your glycogen restored, okay? You're not going to burn more calories. So that's also fucking bullshit. And so when we think about that, it's like, what's the point in trying to do this? And it's because when it comes to endurance sports or track and field and things like that, where we are, what am I trying to think of? Athletes are literally burning, it could be thousands of calories difference on a training day versus a non-training day. Those people need extra food and reduced food intake, all right? They're the people who are going to benefit from this. If you just ran, let's say half a marathon, okay? 21Ks. You're running at a 13K pace, okay? So it's going to take you an hour 50, an hour 45, all right? An hour 45 running at a 13K pace, your heart rate's probably going to be sitting at about 165, probably 165, 170 based on your cardiovascular health, all right? You're going to be, that's probably, I want to say around the 2,000 calorie burn mark, I think, just off the top of my head. Let's just say it's 1,500 calories. That's 3 times the amount of weight training. 1,500 fucking calories. And then tomorrow you're doing nothing because you're exhausted. That would make sense to have a high day and a low day. 1,500 calories difference. All right? That's when it makes sense. For people who train with weights, doesn't make sense. For people who train with weights and do a little bit of cardio, doesn't make sense. Okay? And what this is actually doing is these coaches are thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to give these guys high carbohydrates because they think that you're going to be able to push harder. And then the argument may be, oh, well, if people think they're going to eat more and they need more energy, then why? Then, what's the issue if they want to have more on that day? It's education. Because people may be like, oh, I'm going to be able to train harder because I've got extra carbs today. All right, fair enough. But what about on the day where you might forget that you've had to have extra food or somehow you haven't been able to eat the meal with the amount of carbs you want? And now you're going to have a shit training session because you're like, oh, I don't have enough carbs in my body. Oh, fuck, man, this training session is going to be a waste. I've got no food in my stomach. I'm going to be exhausted. I'm not going to be able to push myself. It works both ways. It's literally, you mentally fuck yourself if you think that extra food is going to give you extra energy for weight training. And so that's why for me the argument is, well, educate your athlete or educate your client, because if you know that you don't need extra calories in your training day, it doesn't have that psychological effect on you. So you can go and train regardless of having higher carbs or not higher carbs, and you're still going to get the results regardless. Does that make sense? So education would actually benefit someone more than having them think they have to have extra carbs on a day. And they mentally think, oh yeah, I can push myself harder. But then on a day where work gets hectic, they haven't been able to have their carbs pre-workout, and they're like, oh fuck man, oh my God, my workout's going to be so shit. And they end up having a shit session. It's like, that could have been avoided just by being taught the right way, First thing. Second issue I have with that is that you're changing calories for no fucking reason, and it's making your life harder to meal prep. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I like a bit of consistency in my life for the most part. I meal prep. I don't like to meal prep for 3 days of one thing and then 4 days of something else, because 4 days I'm going to be needing extra carbs, and then 3 days I'm going to be needing extra fats and lower calories. Like, that's just an up and down cycle. It's why. It takes more time to prepare food for, again, no extra benefit. All right. Thirdly, what it actually also does psychologically is now you've got to think, all right, if you accidentally eat a high carb day on a day that's not supposed to be high carb, now it kind of fucking throws you off a little bit mentally too, because you're like, oh man, I've had more carbs than I'm supposed to have today. Is this going to lead to extra fat gain? Is this going to affect my results? You start to overthink things. And again, all this psychological thing can be avoided by just being educated that you don't need high days versus low days, okay? And then as I was saying that, I was thinking about that, also weight fluctuations. Weight fluctuations fluctuate on the best of days. You're going to have more carbs on one day and lower carbs on the other day. You're going to see your weight go up, and then it's going to come back down. You're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm making progress. Then you'll see it jump back up again. You're like, oh fuck, man. And then it's going to come back down. And it'll just play another mental toll on you. So all this extra effort of some type of high carb, low day bullshit that isn't going to benefit you in any way, in my opinion, is pointless, okay? Again, if you're an athlete, 100%, it's going to be noticeable. Again, 1,500 calories is noticeable. Having extra carbohydrates before not a high intensity run, but a max effort run, having carbohydrates beforehand, or having carbohydrates that's going to be a run that's going to be longer than an hour, I can guarantee you that you're going to need the carbohydrates, all right? You don't need to be sipping on your Powerade when you're training with weights, all right? Again, oh man, my blood glucose is going down. I'm losing carbs from my muscles. I need to drink my Powerade for my workout. Bodybuilding has fucking glorified so many things that are dumb, that have taken from the athletic world and put into their world because they want to think they're athletes, when again, they're not. It's fucking weight training, man. Jesus Christ. I weight train, I actually do cardio. I do boxing. I do cardio in the morning. I don't alternate my calories. I just keep it the same. It's easier to manage, less stress, less effort for meal prep, less mental fatigue overall. That's why I like to do it. And again, it is, wasted for the most part on most people, especially if you're someone who's listening to this and again, you're just normal and wanting to be healthy, and your coach is making you do these things that's going to add extra effort and make it harder for you to adhere. Anytime we increase something to make the adherence harder, then it's a bigger barrier to success. And the bigger the barrier to success, the harder it is to get results. So it's like, why don't we make this as easy as possible? And that means not having high carbs versus low carb days. And finally, on that point, just comes to the overall average of the week, all right? And this is why weekly calories matter most, because a day of shitty eating or a day of good eating is not going to determine a week of progress, all right? And so if you were someone who's been told to eat 2,400 calories today, 2,600 calories tomorrow, 24, 26, 24, 26. Let's say you're doing that 24, 26 every day, all right? 200 calorie adjustments. I, however, am eating 2,500 calories consistently. By the end of the week, we're both going to see the exact same results, okay? Because it's a calorie average that matters most. You're going to average out to 2,500 calories a day when you add up those 7 and you divide it by 7. I'm going to average out 2,500 calories a day because I'm eating 2,500 calories a day and not having any movement within my calories. Again, so it's really, like, I just want to bust this. If you are someone who wants to consistently do high carb versus low carb days or high calorie days versus low calorie days, then go ahead. But again, you're not tricking no, you're not benefiting yourself any more than you would be to keep it consistent. So if it works for you, cool. That's a different story. All right. If you enjoy it, if you like to be a little bit more anal about that thing, if you want to have higher calorie days on one day and lower calorie days on another day, you absolutely can. But just remember, the science shows us there's going to be no difference in regarding your body composition, your energy output, any of those things. There's going to be no difference at all, okay? So the only thing that's happening is you're kind of making it harder on yourself. But again, I'm not here to say that you shouldn't do it now that you're educated. It's still your decision. All right. But like for me, I'm just like, well, fuck that. And I don't make my clients do it because again, it's extra energy mentally. I actually do have clients who are two are cyclists and one is a runner. And I've also got two boxers. They have different calorie days, because they need them. But again, they're not huge calorie fluctuations for the most part. They're not huge high carb, low carb days. It's their days where they're literally doing fuck all is where we lower their calories, So taking that into consideration, just think about when someone's telling you about this or the benefits or anything like that, like you guys kind of know now, it all comes down to weekly averages. And this also applies to carb refeeds. So you guys may have heard of refeeds, lower carbs during the week, 2 high carb days on the weekend. Again, it just comes down to weekly averages, guys. If you're eating 1,900, calorie banking for the weekend. Overall, if you need to eat 2,500 calories to lose weight, however you maintain that as an average for the week, you will lose weight. If you do 1,900 calories from Monday to Friday, and then you've allowed yourself to have an extra, what would that be? An extra 1,500 calories on Saturday and Sunday, because you've had 1,900, so you've dropped an extra 600 calories every day. You've taken away 600 calories from Monday to Friday for 2 extra high calorie days of 1,500 calories, and then it all equals out. You're still going to lose the same amount of weight. All right. On Monday, it probably won't equal that because you've had such a higher amount of calories coming up. So it may actually look like you've gained a little bit, but then it'll end up evening out. But again, that carb cycling shit, the high carb, low carb day, the high calorie, low calorie day, it all comes down to weekly averages, my friend. So that is a myth busted. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully, now you can tell your friends when they try and brag about their high carb, low carb days and you're like, what the fuck are you doing that for? And as always, if you guys have fitness myth questions you want answered, make sure you let me know on Instagram @tysonthetrainerr with 2 R's, and I will answer it on a podcast. Until next time, speak to you guys then.